Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, The John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good things. And I got tons of good things here in the studio with me. We, of course, got Robert Meyer Burnett. We're joined, of course, by the wonderful Chris Carr. Taylor's back there occupying Ray's seat, who is still recovering at home. Of course, we got Jonathan Voico producing and running the show. And we got Kaylee Robinson back there as well. And most importantly, we've got you guys here joining us. Thank you for making this show part of your day. Little side note, I did not watch Chippendales Rescue Rangers last night.
Oh,
Ray was bored. He wanted to come over, and he had never seen Ratatouille, so we watched Ratatouille, and it was his first viewing of Ratatouille.
Did he enjoy it?
He loved it. And here's the funny thing: I didn't realize that movie's 15 years old. I'm like, what? When I saw the year on it as we were about to hit play, I'm like, no, that can't be right. Apparently, it is 15 years old. Anyway, guys, great to have you here. Here's how today's show's going to go. We're going to break it down into two parts. In the first half of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second half of the show, we're going to save a little bit of time and take some of your live questions. When we get to the end of our main topics, we'll announce that we're opening up the super chats, and that will be your time. It'll be a very, very small window of time, but that'll be your time to fire in any thoughts, theories, opinions, or questions that you want us to address in the latter half of the show. Okay, guys. With that down, we got a lot to cover here today on this Friday. By the way, congratulations to make it through to the end of another week. May you have a wonderful weekend filled with fun, relaxation, all sorts of good things laying ahead of you, preparing you for another week of triumph and victory next week. All right, let's get into some off the tops here, shall we? And our first off the top is this. Filed under the category of movies that I love more than most people, Venom. I love the first Venom movie. Loved it. I saw it like 5 times in theaters. The second one I didn't like as much, but I still had a good time with it. I thought Andy Serkis did a decent job delivering a pretty entertaining time. Much like Black Adam. I kind of compared it to Black Adam. It ain't no Shakespeare, but I had fun with it. I had a good time with it. So I like the Venom movies. Really, really love the third one. Or the second one. First one. Eventually I'll get it right. Really love the first one. Anyway, questions have been going around. It's like, well, is there going to be a third? And the answer is yes. And Sony made a big step forward today when, according to IndieWire, they have tapped Kelly Marcel to direct the upcoming movie. Now, she has written the first 2 films. She also wrote, you've heard us talking about this, like a movie, one of my like diamonds in the rough movies of the past 15 years or so, which is Saving Mr. Banks with Colin Farrell and Tom Hanks. I love that movie. She also wrote that dinosaur movie, the dinosaur TV show,
Terra Nova.
Yeah. She also was the lead writer on Terra Nova. So, I mean, and she's been on that. She developed apparently the story for Venom 3 with Tom Hardy, and they've decided that she's going to be one directing the film. I like this for a couple of reasons. She is not an established director, all right? She is primarily a writer and a producer. And big tentpole films normally are not the best place for somebody to cut their teeth directing it. We saw that happen with X-Men, Dark Phoenix.
Simon Kinberg.
With Simon Kinberg, who, that dude's a huge creative writer in the geek space, all that kind of stuff, but he had never directed a film. And is that really the first one you want to step in and direct? So that is the one kind of iffy thing about this is really Venom, even though she's been the writer of the first 2, she's been a part of the creative process with Tom Hardy on the first, she's as connected to this world and this universe as anybody. Still, a little, I do question a little bit of whether something like this, that's going to be, look, this isn't going to be a $200 million movie, but it's probably going to be 125, 130, 140 $1 million movie. Is that really the best movie to cut your teeth on? I'm not so sure.
Especially it's effects heavy too.
Yeah.
Especially visually effects heavy thing. But that's fine if you've got the right crew with you who understand visual effects and everything. But still an interesting choice. I'm just thrilled that it's moving forward. Anyway, Rob, you hear about this. What do you make of it?
Well, I think, hey, look, the Venom franchise is obviously liked by a lot of people. I mean, the second one didn't make as much as the first, but I have to say, for what we got with those movies, they were never going to be high art. And I think for what they are, they were amusing. I mean, the first Venom, I don't love the first Venom, but it's fun to watch, and I'll tell you what I love about the movies. They nailed the voice of Venom. That was the thing that I was most like, how is Venom going to sound? And if they got what I don't like is the way the transformation happens too quickly. Because to me, there's no physicality to it. It's too CG. Like go back and look at Species, the movie Species, or even the way Mystique first transformed in the first X-Men.
Right.
It's just like a CG ripple. It doesn't look like flesh is tearing. That's a minor quibble, but they got Venom's voice right. And it's funny. It's funny. It's amusing. It puts a smile on your face. So the idea that they're going to make a third Venom was not surprising.
And they've made truckloads of money
Yeah.
on this franchise. I still remember when they first announced it, I said, I think this could be fun. And the throngs of the nerd boys, of course, of which we are a part of that, clan.
Yeah.
But the throngs of the nerd boys say, you can't do a Venom movie without Spider-Man. Well, apparently they can. And they made over $800 million doing it. But anyway, Chris, you hear this news about Kelly taking over the director's chair. Right move, wrong move, wait and see. How do you feel?
I mean, it's interesting. First of all, the only thing you could do with this movie is not have Spider-Man. That's why it's so good, is because we're not dealing with Spider-Man in the Venom movies. It's fantastic. They're fun. I like them. I really think she nails the tone and voice of what we want in these Venom movies. This fun ridiculousness, doesn't shy away from the kind of like monstrosity that is Venom, but we still also are like this lovable scamp wanting to eat chocolate and do stuff. Love him. I am a little concerned about this being her directorial debut. And when it comes to her writing, too, Venom is kind of the only thing I've really enjoyed that she's been a part of. I thought Terra Nova was very fun, honestly. I thought it was really, really fun and kind of campy. But Cruella kind of lost me towards the third act. She's the writer on 50 Shades of Grey, which if you're a longtime viewer of the show, you know that is my Boxing Day tradition, is to play a drinking game to that movie. So, love, hate with that.
Made money, though.
It did make money. And so, I mean, I'm sure it will continue delivering the kind of fun, wacky thing that we've come to accept with Venom and enjoy. It's a great popcorn kind of trilogy in the makings. I'm just hoping that as a first film, as the director, behind the director's chair and everything, that she doesn't get bogged down with some of the minutia and that she still gets to tell a fun story and it's not too clunky.
I liked Cruella. I had fun, but did you not see Saving Mr. Banks?
Oh, I did see Saving Mr. Banks. I did not like that either.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I love that movie.
I went and saw it. Like I got to go to a screening with the creatives behind it, and I was just like, okay.
Oh, I love that movie.
It was just not super for me. I don't know.
I'm surprised because seriously, if somebody had come up to me an hour ago and said, "Okay, $50, do you think Chris Carr loves Saving Mr. Banks?" I would have said, "Oh, that's a movie she would love." Yeah. Oh, I would have lost.
And I
money.
love Emma Thompson, and everyone's great in it. It's just it was a movie that I went, okay.
Cruella, just since you brought it up, I hadn't seen it, but I interviewed for Designing Hollywood Jenny Bevan, who was
designed all the
designer.
costumes for it.
I liked that movie way more than I thought I was going to like it, and I thought it was pretty clever. And Emma Stone was great in it. And by the way, Jenny Bevan won a Saturn Award.
For costuming in
for
that?
costuming in that,
Good
yes.
for her on that. All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this news? Venom 3 moving forward. It's got its director now, but it's going to be her first directorial effort. Is this the type of movie, something this big, this expensive, to be their first film? It hasn't had a great track record of that in the past with other directors trying to do it, but maybe this one will work. How do you feel about it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys. With that down, let's do another off the top, and that is this. Some of you may have seen recently that the Good Place actor, William Jackson Harper, from The Good Place. Good Place is a wonderful little show.
Yeah,
I mean, my wife got obsessed with it. It was actually quite good. But they just announced recently a very odd announcement that he was joining the cast of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. The reason that's odd is because they finished shooting this film months ago. So it's not often you hear about additional casts later on, which leads to the understandable speculation that we're talking about an actor being added for something that's going to be a post-credit scene or something like that. Not necessarily. Could be something else that they edit into the film later on. There's a world of possibilities. But one of the big theories going around right now is that William Jackson Harper is going to be Reed Richards. That is what a lot of people are assuming right now. Now, let me tell you why this isn't the craziest theory. All right, there's a couple of reasons why this isn't the craziest theory. Number one is that if it is a last second thing that they've brought in to do a post-credit scene or something like that, the possibility of him playing somebody significant in the MCU for a post-credit scene That's reasonable. It's a reasonable thing to assume that. Doesn't automatically mean it's true at all, but it's not unreasonable to think that. Well, with Kang being there, and with it being the quantum realm and all that kind of stuff, and we know Fantastic Four is coming soon, the idea that it could be a character from Fantastic Four is also not a completely unreasonable thing to assume. So I get that. On top of that, when you, now this becomes typecasting, but when you look at his character on The Good Place, he's a smart boy. Like he's a bookworm. And he plays that real well. And Reed Richards is supposed to be the smartest being in the universe. So, I mean, to get a guy who can play that kind of stuff while also, bringing his own senses and his own, idiosyncrasies and all that kind of stuff to a role, it's not a completely unreasonable thing. Now, of course, there are going to be some people that say, well, wait a minute, Reed Richards is white, he's black. True, but the Reed Richards is one of those characters to me that Reed Richards being white has nothing to do with his character, which is, some characters, it is, T'Challa, that, his ethnicity is key to the character. That's important. I think Bruce Wayne, it's, growing up with a lot of rich white privilege. I think him being a white actor is actually quite important. But I think like 95% of characters out there, their skin color has absolutely zero bearing on the nature of the character. So that could be here. Now, with all that said, do I think that William Jackson Harper is our new Reed Richards? No. I for the main reason that I don't think they would typecast him like that just because he played a smart guy before. It doesn't mean he can be he'll play a smart guy here. But the other thing is too, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I do not think they're going to slip Fantastic Four characters into the MCU. The Fantastic Four, I think, are going to arrive in the MCU in a big, bold way. And it ain't going to be as a post-credit scene. It's not going to be something like that. Now you can say, but John, they've introduced Thanos in a post-credit scene in the first Avengers movie. So, yeah, they did. But I don't think they're going to do that with Fantastic Four. So while I don't think you're crazy, because I won't die a shock if we find out this is true. And so I certainly don't think you're crazy if you believe this. I'm just saying for now, unless I see a lot more real credible evidence, it's not a theory I personally buy into. Rob, you hear about this. What do you think the chances are?
Probably not. I mean, just because an actor plays a bookish, smart guy in one role doesn't mean they're going to cast him. I mean, I never saw Reed Richards as bookish or, you know what? It's funny. When I was a kid, my favorite movie in the world was the original War of the Worlds. And there's a scientist. The main character is a scientist, Dr. Clayton Forrester. When I was a kid, I always believed that Reed Richards, if somebody ever made a movie, would have to be just like Clayton Forrester, because he was kind of this hunky dude that knew everything. And you have to let Washington know, I always speak about the Martians coming. And yet, I mean, race to me doesn't matter. You could make Reed Richards black. That wouldn't bother me. But I still see Reed Richards as a strapping, handsome, like if he needs to fight, he's not just a guy that can fight because he has stretchy powers. I mean, he's a dude that he knows how to fight too. Like, I believe that he's probably an MMA fighter just because he knows stuff. He wants to learn how things work. He would be really into the physics of fighting. Like, how can you punch best? I always thought that Reed Richards was that guy. So I mean, it could be that way, but I have to disagree with you about one thing.
Oh, what's that?
I could see them, the final post-credit scene of Quantumania, they discover all of the Fantastic Four imprisoned somewhere in Chronopolis. That they've been and that they walk in and
they've been in there since the 1950s.
Who knows?
Yes,
that's not. You know what? That's not a bad theory. That's not a bad theory.
And it was the Fantastic Four. They went up in their rocket. It was one of the first rocket, and they were lost. No one ever saw them again. And so, if Ant-Man, it would be, and you have Michael Douglas going, "You're Reed Richards," and that's the end of the movie. And they're all sitting there in jail, and no one knows who they are except Hank Pym.
That would be.
I mean, I'd be like, ah.
I mean, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either.
But I love the theory.
I mean,
I love that
if you
theory.
did that, that's the only way.
That is a way. Yeah, I'm saying that you won't bring them in. But if they did it that way in a post-credit scene, that would kind of be smashing down the wall.
And no one else knows who they are except it's Hank Pym who knows who. because they just disappeared. That's why nobody knows who they are.
Yep.
Because the idea that they were, early 60s, make them late 50s, the product of the atomic age, and they had, but no one ever saw them again.
Chris, what do you think about this particular theory that's going around that William Jackson Harper could be Reed Richards? What do you think? Do you think there's credibility to this? None at all? What do you think?
I think anything's possible because we haven't solidified that John Krasinski is Reed moving forward. He was one iteration of him, right? So it could be William Jackson Harper. It could be Rock Coley, who I would love to see in this role. I think he'd do an excellent job. It could be anybody. And to Rob's point too, Reed also isn't just this kind of like bumbling nerd that we've seen sometimes with depictions of scientists in early day comic books. He's somebody who dabbles in the morally gray. He was a member of the Illuminati.
Yeah.
He made some really tough, very despicable choices at times, honestly, in theory for the greater good. So I think it'd be really interesting to have somebody who always talked about philosophy coming in and have that kind of little Easter egg for all of us. Because also, Chidi wasn't just, the philosophy bookish guy. As the show goes on, we see that he is this very leading man type,
Yeah, we did.
Eleanor Shellstrop is constantly objectifying that boy. I'd love to have William and have Jamil in the MCU now, have all the Good Place people come through. I
now
think
you
that'd be
need
really
Ted
nice.
Danson in there somewhere.
Right? We had Tahini. Let's get Chidi in here too. I think that'd be really, really fun. And I also love Rob's idea. We talked about this on Weekly Hero on one of our issues. There's an already self-contained story that would be so great for the Fantastic Four to just kind of burst onto the scene.
Yeah.
So I do love that because I'm not sure if we would just go, and here is this member of the Fantastic Four, like people are suggesting right now of just, this tertiary character right now will be bigger later. I don't know if we'll do that.
How great would it be like they've battled their way through Chronopolis or whatever, and they find somewhere they're not supposed to be.
Yeah, but now we're talking about Fantastic Four in general, not about his casting. So
I just want to see that happen.
It could be interesting. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you think he could be our new Reed Richards? If so, he's a fun actor. I'd be totally fine with if they did, but I don't believe the theory, but I don't think you're crazy if you do. Anyway, whatever you guys think about that, jump down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys, with that down, let's get into a third off the top here, shall we? And that one is this. One of the big discussions around movie communities the last number of years has been about length of films. Some people, like Ray, won't go to see a movie if it's over 89 minutes. Now, he wants it to be roughly the length of 4 commercials and then, 3 Quibbies. 3 Quibbies and Ray's good. Then there are some people who believe the fallacy that the longer the better. And like, if a movie's 4 hours, that means it's fantastic. No, that's not true at all. But we have seen in recent years more 3-hour movies pop up than I've seen in a long, long, long time. Of course, Endgame, you pushed and tickled with the 3-hour mark and stuff like that. Well, according to a report going around right now, and it's important to mention, this is not verified. This is not verified yet, but it is very believable. There's a report going around that 2 big upcoming movies are both going to be tipping over the 3-hour mark. And that is Avatar, The Way of Water, and the upcoming Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie film Babylon. Now, according to the report, and I'm reading this from our friends over at Joe Blow. Joe Blow's a great site. You guys should read them. And Joe Blow wrote the following. The epics are seemingly back. Not only Black Panther Wakanda Forever, supposed to be the second longest Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, just under 3 hours, but now 2 big film releases later this year are reportedly clocking in at over 3 hours. This December, James Cameron returns with a new film in 13 years with Avatar, The Way of Water. Cameron's latest of 2 films came around the 3-hour mark as they explored their established worlds along with extensive set pieces. So they're saying that one is going to come in at 3 hours and 10 minutes. And Babylon is supposed to come in at 3 hours and 8 minutes. Now, Damien Chazelle's longest film before that, I think, was First Man, which was about 2 hours and 20 minutes. So this would be like 45 minutes longer if Babylon ends up being that long at 3 hours and 8 minutes. 45 minutes longer than his previous longest one. So right now, Ray is somewhere crying and weeping and trying to figure out how he's going to survive this 3-hour apocalypse. But it comes down, well, John, isn't that a good thing? Not necessarily. It's not necessarily a bad thing either. Look, Rob, we've always talked about, going back years, that the length of the movie, shorter is not better, longer is not better. Every movie has its own DNA, where its story and narrative with the right pacing will equal X amount of time. And for some movies, that ideal sweet spot is 95 minutes. For some movies, the ideal sweet spot is 2 hours and 10 minutes. For some movies, the ideal sweet spot is 3 hours. We've seen 2-hour movies that felt too long. We've seen 90-minute movies that felt too short. We've seen 2.5-hour movies that have felt too short, and 90-minute movies that have frankly felt too long. It all depends on if it works with the DNA of the movie. So I hear this and I think, okay, for Avatar, not shocked. Cameron's been working on this for 13 years. So I won't be shocked at all if we get a verification that this movie is indeed at 3 hours and 10 minutes. Won't be surprised at all. I'm a little bit more surprised about the Babylon one because this doesn't seem like the type of story that will have the sort of pace that 3 hours seems necessary. But what do I know? All I've seen is trailers and previews. So I don't think it's a bad thing that they're over 3 hours long, but I don't think it's a good thing either. We'll have to wait to see how it plays out. Anyway, Rob, you hear about these reported runtimes. Can you see these two movies being over 3 hours? And what's your general reaction to that?
A movie is not too long or too short, Mr. Campier. It is precisely as long as it means to be. No, I think that I actually
thought Ian McKellen was in the room. I mean, I don't know about anybody else.
Powerful.
There you go. I do think though that again, I don't think length really matters. It really depends on.
And everybody in the room cleared their throat. So yeah, please continue.
What you want is a wide story.
Girth.
Girth. Yes. I think that it needs to. I think that I didn't mean to be that way. I just didn't. I know everyone's laughing, saying, "Oh, come on, no." What I do think that a movie, the way it's crafted, I've seen movies that are too short that feel long. Yeah. Because they're not absorbing. You're watching something that too much is missing and you're not. And then I've seen movies that are very long that are incredibly compelling. Like one of my favorite movies of all time is The Right Stuff, which came out in '83. It's about the dawn of the American space program. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes. And you never feel it until the very end with this fan dance and Chuck Yeager flying in an airplane. But I still love it. Lord of the Rings never feels long to me. Even I mean, you're watching Fellowship of the Ring. That movie moves along at a rapid pace.
Yes, it does.
And it's almost like the extended version is 3 hours long, and it never feels too long.
Standard version is closer to 4.
I mean, it's that's for Return of the King.
Yeah,
you know so it just depends on the story. And to me, Avatar, the first Avatar, is a long movie. And there's an extended version of it that I never feel the length in that film. And I think with Babylon, if you have an epic film that takes you on a journey, I don't think that Lawrence of Arabia is a long movie. The Godfather is almost 3 hours, and I never feel the length when I watch it. If it's compelling, it's when a movie is not as compelling as it needs to be. I mean, Babylon looks like it has a huge array of characters. It's telling this historical epic about Hollywood. I could see, and Damien Chazelle, I mean, look at La La Land. I mean, the way he directs, he's probably, I mean, that's like a smorgasbord of delight. So it depends to me. I mean, it really does depend on the filmmaker and the story that's being told.
Well, it's a matter of pace too.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
if you have the amount of
100%.
story that, because you mentioned Lord of the Rings, right? That those stories move at a rapid pace. Like they quickly move, and there's enough story there that you were able to maintain a rapid pace for close to 3 hours, right? Then you take something like Peter Jackson's King Kong, where the entire first hour of the movie was absolutely unnecessary. And there was no need for that movie to be, that movie clocked in about close to 3 hours
Yes,
too,
it
if I'm not
does.
mistaken. That entire first hour of that movie could have been cut off. So it really depends on that. Anyway, Chris, Babylon, Avatar, you surprised to hear about the runtimes? Do you think it's going to come in close to that? Pros or cons? What do you think?
I mean, man, that's long. Somewhere Aaron Cummings is like, when am I going to pee? When am I going to figure this out? Giselle has a really great track record, though. Whiplash, First Man, La La Land, which didn't fire on all cylinders for me personally. It was a little too romanticized for me as somebody who is a working actor of if only. Yeah, you do a one-woman show and all the agents come to you. That's how it always happens, kids. I was just a little too, chip on my shoulder about it, but I understand the appeal of it.
You sound a little jaded.
I know. I am a little jaded. It was just so shiny. I don't know. But I just want to make sure that these aren't overinflated, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
The Batman is a near perfect movie that just needed to be tightened up a little bit.
It needed
I mean,
to
if you
shave a
could have
few
made a
minutes off
few
that
cuts, that would have been great, But I'm just worried about it being more is more, especially with Avatar. I know it's something that he's been working on for so long, but one of the most important things is to listen to your editors and show more than tell, right? And I'm just worried that we're going to have some redundancies with a length like that. Hopefully we don't have that, and hopefully they utilize their time wisely.
You know who else did that a lot? We had a problem with that. I love the movie. I do. I love the movie. But my God, 45 minutes could easily have been cut out of it. The Irishman.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese's The Irishman.
It was way too long.
It was a great movie that was unnecessarily long because they had so many scenes that repeated the same point that the movie had already made or something like that. Like it could have been shortened like 45 minutes.
When it comes to Avatar, though, once again, don't bet against Jimmy C.
Nope, never.
Because
never
if
bet
there's
against
somebody
him.
that knows how to edit a movie, from Terminator to Aliens, I mean, the Abyss is beautifully cut. Terminator 2.
There's
True Lies.
There's two things you can always count on for James Cameron. Number one, he's going to never bet against him. He's going to crank out great movies. That's what he does. The second thing, if you need irrational, unexplainable criticisms of the comic book genre, always go to James Cameron. He's ready to give you that.
But you know, you think about like Titanic, it's like, well, here's the time when we go underneath and we meet all the people in steerage and we have an Irish dance party.
That was a great scene, by the way.
That's what
don't crap on that.
But
Yeah,
that's
I
what I'm
love that.
saying.
scene.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure some executive probably looked at him and go, "Do you really need the Irish dance party?" And the answer is
Yes.
yes.
Yep.
It's
Yes,
levity.
you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you know. You've seen it, what, 5 times or
I
whatever?
think I saw it 7 times.
There you go.
Really?
And you would never lose that scene
I won't. I want it to be that little girl dancing with Leo.
because it's awesome.
Yeah.
That scene's awesome. Anything James Cameron does is awesome.
All right, guys, question is for you. There are reports going around, again, let me emphasize, not verified at this point, but they're suggesting that both Avatar and Babylon are going to be over 3 hours long. Do you kind of go, yes, or do you kind of go, ooh, that feels oppressive? I don't know. What's your reaction to that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, we're going to take a second here and thank one of the sponsors of today's show, our friends at True Classic. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, True Classic. This brand new sponsor has the absolute best fitting t-shirts that a man can buy. Finding the right t-shirt with a little bit of a dad bod is incredibly frustrating. Most t-shirts are either way too tight on your gut or look way too big and boxy. You're not in high school anymore and it's time to upgrade. True Classic has already helped over 2 million men finally get a better fit at an affordable price. And the John Campea Show viewers and listeners get access to the best deal they offer. For a limited time only, get 25% off using the code CAMPEA at trueclassic.com. Look, you and I both know that almost all of men's t-shirts are designed to look good on skinny models with six-packs. But let's be honest, that's not most of us. True Classic tees taper off towards the bottom, but they fit tighter around the chest and shoulders. It's time to highlight your best attributes with a t-shirt that you can always confidently throw on. Like most of you guys, ever since college, I have always struggled to find proper fitting t-shirts that are comfortable. Well, True Classic, from the moment I put on the shirt they sent me, solves it. And True Classic doesn't just stop at tees. From polos and workout shirts with the same flattering fit. Upgrade your wardrobe with True Classic. Get 25% off at trueclassic.com with the promo code CAMPEA. Free shipping included on purchases over $100. 100% risk-free guarantee with a 30-day refund policy. Stay classy with True Classic. Your dad bod will thank you. And thank you to our friends at True Classic for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Okay, guys, with that all down, Kaylee, what do we got going on next?
It is time for our Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. Feel free and call in if you want to let your voice be heard on the show. The number is 951-268-4259. And our first question is about a Marvel and DC crossover.
The cool black nerd here. Question. And actually, probably just a wild theory. Do you think Kevin Feige and James Gunn have a secret agreement that James Gunn goes over to DC and straightens up everything just for them to have a DC versus Marvel crossover event movie? It's been done in the comics, so I don't see why not. Love what you guys do.
All right, first of all, cool black nerd has to record himself reading a book and have somebody playing sax in the
Dude,
back.
who's the Barry
I
White
don't,
of cool
yeah.
black nerd?
I don't care about this question at all anymore. Dude, like, do you want to do voiceover? What's your deal? You sound awesome.
Okay, so since the world got rocked with the news that we were getting James Gunn, Peter Safran now going to be the CEOs and chairman of DC, the brand new DC Studios, there have been so many people asking the question, does this mean we are now getting a Marvel and DC crossover? And look, I again get it. This is like Game of Thrones kind of stuff, where two great houses will marry their kids off. It's like, okay, let's put our little one here, James Gunn. He will go and be the head of DC now, and the families are, unified and all that kind of stuff. I get it. I get the idea of it. And there have been a lot of people who have wanted to see DC and Marvel mix up and crossover for a while. And he's right. It has happened in the comics actually a couple of times.
Yeah.
Now, one of the big major ones we've talked about on the show before, DC and Marvel once did this event where they crossed it over, where there was some, godlike being who decided that only one of the two universes could exist, the DC one or the Marvel one. And they picked champions to have a bunch of one-on-one fights. So they had, I believe it was Robin versus Jubilee. It was Batman versus Captain America, Wolverine versus Lobo, Superman versus Hulk, Storm versus Wonder Woman. And I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. There were a few others. Anyway, and then, what would happen is the readers would write in and vote for who would win each individual fight. And then whichever universe's champions won the most fights, the other universe would be eliminated. But of course, they didn't eliminate the other universe and all that kind of stuff. So could they bring something like that to the big screen for Marvel and DC? I really don't think so. And I'll tell you what, I said this before on the show because somebody wrote in a live chat and asked this, and I'll say what I said then. That movie would be an unmitigated mess. Because number one, you've got far too many characters. So you're going to get a bunch of fans on both sides that is going to be really pissed off and really unsatisfied with the fact that their favorite characters didn't get any or very little screen time, right? Plus, both sides are going to make unbelievable compromises. And it will be, forget the writing the script process. Then you've got 3 years of legal from both sides going through, no, that scene you're writing there makes our Batman character not look cool enough. No, your little scene here doesn't make Magneto look powerful enough. Or it's going to be all that. Plus, then at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself the question, why would you make this movie? Like, if you're Marvel, why on earth would you do a crossover movie with DC? What do you have to gain from it? Because right now, like, we're going to talk about Marvel versus DC again a little bit later in the show, but in the race, if you want to call it, it's not a competition, but still in the race, if you want to use that terminology, Marvel is way ahead right now. And so what benefit is it to you to do that with DC? I could see some benefit for DC doing that as well. Maybe doing a crossover, but I just don't see logistically how it would work. From a quality standpoint as a fan, I don't see how this works. If you're Marvel, why on earth would you do it? You got nothing to gain by doing it. You'll make more money as Marvel Studios. Just, we could spend a lot of time and resources and character work making that movie with DC, or we could just make another Deadpool movie and make a lot more money. Because it would all be their money. They wouldn't have the headaches and the nightmares of going through all the stuff they have to do to compromise the DC. I just don't see how this would be even a good movie. I don't know, Chris, this is something that all of us, fan citizens have thought about a lot, but do you think that with James Gunn there now, do you think that the secret plan is actually for Marvel and DC to make a big crossover event movie?
I mean, the Nerd Sphere certainly does. I mean, the last few days, it's constantly been these mashups and referring to the Amalgam universe, right? CBR was like, we're so much closer now because of this. But the issues you're talking about, too, it was, I believe, a 4-issue special event series in 1996. And sure, we've had some other mashups and everything since then, but I don't know if I like that for a film. I like that for comics. I love that for video games. I don't know if I want a feature film featuring all of these different characters, because it was already such a major win that we were able to balance so many heroes and villains throughout, Endgame and Infinity War and everything like that. I'm wondering about how much screen time everyone will actually get that's quality here. I feel like it'd just be a kind of big quantity push of here's all your favorite superheroes, and that's it. I still want some substance there, even though it will be fun to go, oh, Superman and Spider-Man, that's neat. I still want some really great storytelling behind it, and I don't know if we can achieve that.
Rob, what do you think? Is this something you think they should do? Like, you're in James Gunn's office. and consulting him. You are his consigliere now. And they say, hey, talk about maybe us doing a Marvel crossover with DC. Should we do it, Rob? What do you say?
Well, here's the thing. Like we just saw the Spider-Man versus Superman. That was the Treasury edition that was big when I was a kid in the 70s. They did X-Men and Teen Titans, which was actually quite good. The story was quite good. And that was one of the first, that was in the early 80s when X-Men and Teen Titans were both the biggest titles of each company at the time. There was the mythical JLA Avengers comic that was George Perez was drawing for years. I think Rob Liefeld had bought the only pages that existed. For years, people talk about this JLA Avengers crossover. Never happened. And then it was liberated. And it was also quite good. I think, like you said, though, the enormous production difficulties, legal difficulties, and how do you pay people? I think the only way you could make this work is it would have to be a 50-50 split and all the actors would have to work for favored nations, meaning all the actors get paid the same amount of money. There's no, like if you want to bring back Robert Downey Jr., it would have to be the kind of thing where if the script wasn't fun, the only way to get these actors back is everyone gets paid the same amount of money. And it's not a lot of money because those fees would make the film cost prohibitive. You could never do it. But I do think if anybody could do it, James Gunn, because he's been a comic book fan his whole life, and Kevin Feige, they know these comics. And the first place that I would look, it's got to be JLA versus Avengers. That's what you got to do. You've got a comic that's pretty good. So there's your roadmap. It could be done. But I don't think that I don't think this is the grand plan that Kevin Feige and James Gunn have come up with. I don't believe that. But I do believe that our viewer, Cool Black Nerd, could probably talk both sides into making this movie. Just hearing his voice.
Let me look. Like you brought up some images there, Jonathan. Like, what about the notion though? Because when people hear DC thing, we think Avengers versus JLA or some massive MCU versus DCU thing, right? But what about something like what Jonathan had up on the screen? What about solo crossover? What about Spider-Man, Batman? What about Batman, Punisher? What about like in both the DCU and the MCU, they are now both fully embracing, I think it's idiotic, but they're both fully embracing multiverse now, right?
Sure.
You know, Batman is sitting in the Batcave, Martha, Martha, Martha. And then like this big portal opens up and he goes, oh, and he's sucked through this portal, a la Peter Parker in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I love that Martha, Martha, Martha is like his Bloody Mary cry. Oh man.
I thought that was more like his work, work, work.
Martha. And so a portal opens up and he's sucked through. It's like, where am I? Who's that guy in a spider suit? Should we be friends? Okay, first we'll fight and then we'll be friends. I don't know. I mean, but what about the idea of something smaller like that? Like instead of universe versus universe, one character.
It takes away the narrative issue that I have of making sure all the characters have their due time. But I still don't love it. I don't know, especially just in that particular example. And I know you're just giving examples for the sake of them, but is Bruce out there making friends? I think he'd see Spider-Man and be like, what the fuck are you? I don't want to deal with you. You're a child. You're a child in a onesie. Get out of my way.
Probably. But could it, listen, I don't think they're going to do this either. But I mean, could it be more feasible? Because you're talking about the sheer logistics of it, the sheer money of it.
Yeah.
But what if it was a smaller scale?
That would be much easier to do. I mean, I think from a legal perspective, both companies would have to agree to split it all down the middle 50-50. First of all, they'd have to
cost and
everything.
profits.
Everything would be and all the
and
actors.
If you're Marvel, would you agree to that? Because you're bringing more to the table than DC.
Do you know what though? Here's the thing: we all think that there's some kind of rivalry. Everybody's doing their own thing. This would have to be like. It would have to be some kind of a celebration. Like I don't know.
So like James and Kevin doing a video together on YouTube saying, "Listen. This is not to be taken seriously. This is not to be taken as this is going to change the MCU or the DCU, but we're going to celebrate together fandom of these characters we love, and we're going to make this isolated crossover movie."
Well, because, I remember reading back in the early 80s, reading X-Men versus Teen Titans, and it worked. I mean, Dark Phoenix and Darkseid were the villains, and it actually worked. Like they didn't, everyone who read it understood it was kind of ridiculous. but it worked within the context of that comic, and I liked it. It didn't denigrate either side. It didn't. So if they came out and said this, and it's just a celebration of, next year's Warner Brothers 100th anniversary, and you came out and said this is an anniversary film, and Disney's 100th anniversary, it might also be next year. It's either this year, next year, or the year after. So celebrating the 100th anniversary of both studios. I mean, it's too soon to do something like that because I'll never be able to put it together. But for that reason alone, we're going to do like what we did with the comics. It's a one-off. It's to celebrate a century of great characters.
Well, guys, question is for you. What do you
I'd do
think?
it.
I don't think this will happen. I just think there's way too many things working against it. And the big question is even why bother doing it.
Right.
But I mean, with James Gunn there, it does make it more feasible. And maybe you could do something smaller scale. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Whatever you think, jump on down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, it's game time. It's Friday. We're relaxed. We're going to play a little game of movie password here. We're going to invite you guys to play along with us. Of course, you guys know how this game works. There is going to be in every round an answer. The answer is either going to be a movie, an actor, a director, something from a movie, whatever like that. I'm going to give the first player a clue. If they guess it on the first clue, they get 6 points. If they don't get it, we give a second clue to the next player and they can get 5 points. If they don't get it, so on and so forth. So that is how the game works. So we're going to start. Taylor, think of a number between 1 and 10.
Okay.
All right. Kaylee, pick a number between 1 and 10.
4.
Chris,
7.
Rob,
2.
what is the number?
3.
All right, so what do we have?
Kaylee.
4 is the closest. So Kaylee is going to go first.
All right.
Are we ready? All right, here we go. Round number 1. For those of you watching at home, the answer will stay off the screen so you guys can play along until after the second clue is given. After the second clue is given, and if the person doesn't get their guess right, then the question will come up. So if you don't want to know the answer at all, keep your hand covered over your screen. All right, here we go. So in movie password, round number 1, our first clue, Kaylee, is blue. 3,
Wow, that's big.
2, 1.
I mean, that's pretty
No
big.
guess. Okay. So we move now on to Rob, going in a clockwise fashion. For 5 points, Robert, the first clue was blue. The second clue is fast.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
For 5 points, Rob goes into the lead for Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, that's it. The other clues were going to be Game, Schwartz, Robotnik, and Carrie. And you get 5 points. All right. We move now on to round number 2. Rob, we're going to start off with you this time. The first clue in round number 2 is, for 6 points, Downey. 3, 2,
Iron Man.
incorrect. All right. We move over to Chris Carr. For 5 points, the first clue was Downey. The second clue is awful. 3,
Awful?
2, 1.
Chef. He's a dick in that movie.
He is a dick in that movie, but the chef is not correct.
Wait.
Okay.
John, are you sure you're reading the right questions? Because I have different answers.
Also, we did these questions last game.
Oh, I don't think you brought over the
I'm looking on password and on the server.
wait a minute. Let me refresh here. Did we have to start again?
We might.
Let me double check. I may have totally. Oh, I did. It didn't refresh.
Say,
My document didn't refresh when I opened it up.
they're new to me and Kaylee.
So,
That's the problem.
Fuck Up Friday, starring John. Okay,
All right, so let's
so
start with Kaylee again and we'll just start over.
Yeah.
we are going to have to start all over.
fine with
Sorry,
me.
Rob, your lead
okay.
is gone.
Take 2.
The answer was Doolittle, and but I
yeah.
guess we already done these ones.
That's fair.
Oh.
Which wow, I just you know what? It's like I told you before. I'm Ron Burgundy. Whatever's on the screen in front of me.
I was like, didn't
The
we just
password
do?
document did not refresh on my end, so I apologize for that, everybody.
Didn't we just do Sonic?
We
Wasn't
now
that-
have a
didn't Ray
fully
get that?
refreshed document, and we are ready to go again.
Yep.
All right.
I apologize. I messed that up badly. Okay.
No worries.
So we're going to start again. Round 1, clean slate. Jonathan, when you do the segment editing,
Yeah.
cut that part out.
Okay.
Welcome to a game of movie passwords, starting again with no mistakes. Okay, Kaylee,
All right.
you are up first, and your first clue is Hawaii.
Moana.
Incorrect. All right. That was for 6 points. Rob, we are now over to you. For 5 points, the first clue was Hawaii. Your second clue is animated. 3, 2, 1, time. All right. For 4 points, we go over to Chris Carr. The first clue is Hawaii. The second clue is animated. The third clue is alien.
Lilo and Stitch.
Correct for 4 points. So Chris gets on the board.
Ding, ding,
4 points.
ding,
She's
ding.
in the lead. All right. As soon as I said it, you could see Kaylee was like, oh, please get it wrong.
Yeah, because they never really said Moana was Hawaii. It was just like super islandy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. The other clues were going to be Disney, 2002, and Creature. All right. We move on to round number 2. Rob, you're up 1st. Your first clue is diesel.
Pitch Black.
Incorrect, but good guess. All right. Chris, we move on to you for 5 points. Your first clue is diesel. Your second clue is Argento.
Argento.
3, 2,
I
1,
was gonna say Bullet Train,
time.
but
All right. So the first clue was diesel. The second clue was Argento.
Argento.
Kaylee, for you,
Yeah.
for 4 points. Your third clue is porn.
Come again?
Yeah, well,
that's what they say in the movie.
Maybe.
That's what they say in the movie. Yes, first clue, diesel. Second clue, Argento. Third clue, porn. In 3, 2, 1.
I really have nothing.
Okay. So, Rob, we now go to you for 3 points. First clue is diesel. Second clue, Argento. Third clue, porn. Fourth clue is action. Chris, don't say it.
The topic is
Jen.
Zach and Miri make a porno.
Incorrect. Okay. Chris, we now go to you for 2 points. First clue, diesel. Second clue, Argento. Third clue, porn. Fourth clue, action. Fifth clue, Jackson.
Well, none of this is helping.
No.
3, 2, 1. Time. All right, we go back over to Kaylee for 1 point. Diesel, Argento, porn, action, Jackson, and the final clue is Vin.
Boogie Nights? I don't know.
And the answer was Triple X. XXX was, of course, the answer, starring Diesel, Argento, Samuel L. Jackson, action film, the porn, Triple X. I really thought the porn clue was a dead giveaway. I really thought.
I've never seen that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
shocked
so
nobody got super pets.
Once it was porn, I was like, maybe Super Pets.
All right. So after 2 rounds, Chris is still in the lead with what? 5 or 4? How much does Chris have?
4.
Chris has 4. All right. So we move now into round number 3. And we start with Chris this time.
Okay.
All right, Chris and everybody at home. Your first clue is Bullock.
Bullock? Oh,
3,
shoot.
2,
the one with, I can't
1.
remember the name of it.
time.
Love Potion
Okay.
number 9.
All right. We move
not right.
over now to Kaylee for 5 points and potentially the lead.
I should get this.
Your first clue was Bullock. Your second clue is football.
The movie where she's the mom and she won the Academy Award.
3, 2, 1. Time. So we move over to Robert for potentially 4 points. The first clue is Bullock. The second clue is football. The third clue is true.
The Blind Side.
The Blind Side for 4 points. Oh, Kaylee
I
knew
can
it.
hear her southern
Kaylee
accent
knew it.
now.
I kept trying to think of the one with Channing Tatum that just came out.
Love
What was that
Actually.
called? Romancing the
Lost
Stone, but
City.
not Lost City.
Lost City.
Thank you.
Oh, Lost City.
So right now we have a tie. It is 4-4 between Rob and Chris.
She smoked me last
Still
time.
18 points to go. This is still anybody's game. We move into answer or topic number 4. And for the 4th round, we start with Kaylee again.
Okay.
Your first clue is Bullock.
All right.
3, 2,
The proposal.
for 6 points. Haley gets on the board with the proposal.
Wow, literally
take
anything
it.
other than the blind side, and you would have been
I
fine.
thought you would have said speed or okay. Yeah, the other clues were going to be
Ryan
Canadian,
Reynolds, yes.
Reynolds, white, comedy, and engagement. 6 points
Wow.
right out of the gate
Love
for the
it.
proposal.
Well done.
Okay.
What are the? What's the tally?
All right, so
Not Kaylee's
Kaylee's in the lead with 6, and then Rob and Chris are Wonder Twins with 4.
Love
I'm the
it.
one who turns into animals.
Rob turns into a bucket of
Great.
water.
Yeah.
All right.
And then
Still
he throws
anybody's
it on things he
game.
doesn't like.
I could have made a really terrible joke, but I'm going to refrain.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah,
Tell me on the break.
It was a bad joke.
I'm excited.
It
All
would've-
right.
it
Here we
would've
go
gone
into
down
round
as a
number
groaner.
5. Rob, we're going to start with you. Round number 5. For 6 points and the lead, your first clue is McConaughey. God, that's hard. 3,
Interstellar.
incorrect. All right. Chris, we go over to you for 5 points and the lead. Your first clue is McConaughey. Your second clue is Carr.
Lincoln Lawyer.
For 5 points and the lead, Chris Carr gets it.
No more
Link-
Wonder Twins.
Nice.
No more Wonder Twins. The other
TV series
clues were going to be Mystery, Felipe, Macy, and Tomei.
Nicely done.
And 5 points. So we have Chris with 9 points. We have Kaylee with 6 points. Rob with 4 points, which means it is still anybody's game as we move into round number 6. And we are starting with Chris. Your first clue for the 6th and final round, your first clue is Haddish.
Girlfriend's Trip.
That's not the title of
It's
the movie.
not.
We can't
Shoot.
give it to you.
Dang
so
it.
we go over to Kaylee. The first clue is Haddish. The second clue is comedy.
Girls Trip.
Son of
For
a bitch.
6 points and the win, Kaylee.
Credit goes to you, though.
No,
Kaylee
I
wins.
botched it.
Eat it up for me, though. I was like, it's not
Set and spike.
girlfriend.
Hey,
Set
you
and
know,
spike,
win
baby.
is a win.
A win.
job.
It's a
Is
win.
I'll take
Nicely
it.
done.
I'll
So
take
what is our final tally?
All right, so Kaylee won with 11 points. Then we have Chris with 9 points, and Rob, I'm sorry, with 4 points.
It's
On the
okay.
board.
You're
and,
okay.
and Chris, it was a close second. You're getting better at this.
I am. It's because we're not playing for anybody. When I have to play for somebody,
I
there's
see.
too much pressure.
Well, she won
and
the
then I
last
fail.
game.
Yeah.
Chris won the last
No,
game.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
getting more comfortable.
Was the next clue going to be porn?
Can't believe
Come again.
Porn and action. No, the other clues are going to be comedy, Coulter, Smith, Orleans, and Latifah.
Yep.
We're going to be the other clues. And guys, our winner, first time playing, Kaylee Robinson takes it
Yeah.
home. Congratulations,
Beginner's luck.
Kaylee. All right. With that all now down, guys, we're going to take a moment and thank another sponsor of today's show, the good folks at Wondery and their new podcast, the official podcast of Rings of Power. Guys, we want to take a moment and thank a sponsor of today's video, Wondery, and their new podcast, the official Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power podcast. Guys, it's time to go deeper into the canals of Numenor, the mines of Khazad-dûm, and more with the official The Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power podcast. Host Felicia Day and several special guests provide an inside look at the groundbreaking series and what it took to bring Middle-earth to life. Each episode of the official podcast features exclusive interviews with the series showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, including the very first full breakdown of the incredible season finale. Felicia also goes behind the scenes with the cast and crew to bring you jaw-dropping stories and Easter eggs that you won't want to miss. So watch The Rings of Power on Prime Video and listen to all 8 episodes of the official The Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power podcast for free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app now. And thank you to our friends Wondery for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Make sure you guys go and check out that podcast. As a matter of fact, guys, remember, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So make sure you check out the description of this video. Right at the top of it, you'll see links and promo codes to all of our sponsors. And again, thank you to Wondery. All right. With that down, guys, let's move into our main topics here. And how do we select our main topics on the John Campea Show? Well, that's easy. You guys come up with them. See, whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Kaylee, what is our first main topic today?
John, our first main topic comes from Amin. I think most of us can agree that in terms of quality, Marvel has been a bit of hit and miss recently. On the other hand, DC has been putting out a few great projects in a row. When comparing the last 4 to 5 films from both, which studio do you think has put out better films? As much as I loved films like Shang-Chi, No Way Home, I think maybe DC has been doing a better job recently. What are your thoughts?
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in. And it's interesting. We are in an interesting period of time right now because we have seen DC lately come out with some big wins. And I think all of us have been a little bit guilty of letting it fly under the radar that they have been putting together a string of some pretty good stuff. We've talked a lot about the struggles of phase 4 of Marvel, which has still been quite good, but it has struggled to live up to the same overall quality level, I think, of phases 1, 2, or 3. So it's kind of worth bringing up the question, Amin. Okay, well, right now, what have you done for me lately? Who's kind of firing on all cylinders better right now? I mean, obviously, in the long term, who has done it better overall? It doesn't matter if you're a fan of Marvel or DC. Everybody will acknowledge Marvel's done it better so far. They've had far more success. They've been a lot more crowd-pleasing. The box office, the critic, all that kind of stuff overall. But how's it been lately? Because when you look at things like The Joker, which kind of was a couple of years ago, but still The Joker, you look at The Batman that they just did with Matt Reeves, you look at Peacemaker, which is like one of the number 1 shows in the world and all that kind of stuff. And even though it ain't winning any Oscars, Black Adam was a fun time at the movies. On top of that, Suicide Squad, which did terrible at the box office, but I think that's the second best movie the DCU ever put out. When you look at that, they don't have a lot of what I would call glaring losses on their resume over their last couple of films or television projects, if you were. By contrast, if you look at Marvel right now, crushed it and knocked it out of the park with Shang-Chi, with WandaVision, with Ms. Marvel, with Spider-Man No Way Home. At the same time, they've had some iffy outings. Let's call them iffy. Black Widow, Hawkeye, Thor Love and Thunder, I don't know, a couple of others, right? Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Some people loved it, but for a lot of people it was pretty iffy, right? So you've had this inconsistency. I'm going to say something that might sound a little weird. I'm going to say under the who did it better lately, I'm going to say DC. Look, Marvel's also put out a whole ton more projects than DC has in the most recent memory. But if you want to take all their projects, both DC and Marvel over the last just couple of years, and say who had the better average, I'd say the average quality level of the DC projects, Peacemaker, the Batman, Joker, Suicide Squad, I'm going to say, and Black Adam included, I'm going to say the average has been higher than the average of Marvel, which has some incredible wins, but some pretty big losses as well. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that I would put my money on DC over Marvel right now. I'm not saying that at all. But if you're going to ask in recency bias, who's been doing a little bit better? I'm actually going to say right now, I think DC's been doing a little bit better recently. Anyway, Rob, it's an interesting question, but how would you evaluate this?
Well, I think that one of the things that Marvel has set itself up for is the cinematic universe that all their films take place in. I think that's been their biggest hindrance. Because, for instance, I enjoyed Eternals.
I quite enjoyed Eternals too. Yeah.
I don't think it was a good MCU movie because it didn't do enough to add to the tapestry. I have too many questions when that movie was over about their wider universe. Now, Marvel did this to themselves. They have an obligation to continue on their cinematic universe. And I thought, for the most part, the Infinity Saga did a pretty good job. Now, I really like Shang-Chi. Inconsequential, really, when it came to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, except maybe, okay, the 10 rings, what does this mean? Where did they come from? We don't. Okay, that's a little bit of a, but the rest of that movie had really nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It introduced a character up until the very end. Maybe you saw Wong the Abomination, but for the most part, tapestry didn't matter. And I feel that way about most of the Phase 4 movies. I've missed the cohesion of the MCU, but the movies I've enjoyed. Not as much Doctor Strange and
Thor: Love and
Thor:
Thunder.
Love and Thunder I didn't like very much at all.
What about Black Widow? What do you think about Black Widow?
I like Black Widow, but it's mid-tier. Again, it was more, I like spy thrillers. I mean, that movie, inconsequential when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. None of it really mattered.
You can say the same thing about all the DC projects.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, I've never, the DC Universe, a non-starter for me. Really didn't have one. All of my favorite DC movies, you could say Man of Steel and Batman, they're supposed to be but they could, Batman and Superman could be the only heroes. And then they had Justice League, they introduced Wonder Woman. I still don't think of the DCEU as a cinematic universe. Aquaman, okay, Jason Momoa was introduced in Batman v Superman and was in Justice League. Don't care. Aquaman, the first Aquaman movie with the kingdoms of under, that had nothing to do with the rest of the DCEU. But it worked. I loved Aquaman. If they never brought the bigger DCEU in and James Wan makes his Aquaman trilogy, great. That's all I care about. It doesn't have to link to anything. The Batman unto itself, like the Nolan Batman trilogy, Joker doesn't matter. So to me, DC should abandon the idea of their universe entirely. Now you can have people cross over as you want, but you know what? If Shazam and Black Adam cross over and Superman's in those movies, do I then expect to see Aquaman and Wonder? Don't care. I don't think you can mix and match.
At some point, you're going to tell me which one you think is doing better right now, right?
Oh, I think DC has been providing me with a more entertaining time. The Batman was
Really?
I think the Batman is the best of all the superhero movies that have
Yeah,
come
I
out
agree
in the
with
last 2 years.
Batman,
I agree
yeah.
with that.
We got the
You proud of that
director.
one?
But the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I've loved the cinematic universe of it all. I think that's where they've been falling down because they haven't tied all their stuff together.
Well, I mean, but can you call that a criticism when DC isn't tying their stuff together either?
But I don't
So
expect.
you can't say
no. I don't expect them to. The DC. That's why I say the DC universe has been a non-starter. Zack Snyder was doing his thing. He's done his Justice League Superman trilogy. The Batman was not part of anything. Joker wasn't part of anything. The Aquaman movie that James Gunn made was so different from Zack Snyder's world to not. I don't care. I just don't care. Black Adam, unto itself. I know we're going to have Shazam and Superman, all that. Don't care.
All right, Chris, what about you? When we're talking about recency bias, but who do you think lately has been doing it better?
I mean, I'm still Make Mine Marvel, and you all can say I'm a Marvel shill, and I don't care. I like it. I thought that Ms. Marvel was phenomenal. I thought She-Hulk was fun. I had more fun than you guys, admittedly. I enjoyed that one. You know, I thought Werewolf by Night was incredible. I thought that
Werewolf by Night was pretty good.
I thought it was so
Pretty
good. Werewolf,
yeah.
Moon Knight was great till the end, which we had a fumble there, and I hope we picked that up. You know, I think there's a lot within Marvel that I've really enjoyed. Shang-Chi, I thought, was one of the best films we've gotten out of the Marvel franchise in general. Doctor Strange was fun. I wasn't in love with it, but it was fun. Thor really disappointed me. But on the whole, I've enjoyed Marvel more. Now, DC has done some fun stuff, and sure, we get into a quantity issue again where Marvel's had so many projects that, sure, there are some flops in there for me. But DC has had more things that I haven't really gelled with overall. Now, they are crushing TV recently. Freaking love Doom Patrol. Freaking love
Doom Patrol,
You know,
yeah.
Peacemaker. I thought that was excellent. The Batman was great. Wanted to just tighten up that edit a little bit and that'd be perfect. But I think Marvel overall really has my heart.
I still think that the best overall recent movie out of all Marvel and DC is still Shang-Chi. That's one for me. Right behind that would probably be the Batman. I love the Batman. All due respect, Matt. I think Batman is still my number 2 favorite movie of the year this year so far. But I don't know, guys. Question is for you. Whichever camp you generally think you're on, like, what do you honestly try to think might be been doing it better lately overall? I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move into main topic number 2. Kaylee, what is our second main topic today?
John, our second main topic comes from Alan Renshaw. He says, who doesn't love some Nicolas Cage? I saw an article on The Hollywood Reporter that Nick Cage is in talks to return for National Treasure and Face Off sequels. I think it would be a mistake and they should reboot these with new actors. What are your thoughts on this? I personally would love to see Nicolas Cage again. I mean, who didn't like those movies? They were funny. They were kind of funky even for the time back then, but I always went back and watched it.
Hell yeah.
What do you guys think about another National Treasure 3?
Well, listen, they have been talking about a National Treasure 3 for a long time. I mean, I think we can go all the way back to like 2000 and like, oh gosh, maybe 2016 when like actually hearing Jerry Bruckheimer talking about, I have intentions of trying to do another National Treasure. Now, of course, Disney Plus has a National Treasure show coming that is not about Nicolas Cage's character, but one of the side characters from the National Treasure movies is a character in the show, so they do share the same cinematic universe. Listen, this comes to us right now from the folks over at CBR who wrote the following. Nicolas Cage is reportedly in discussions about his possible return for a National Treasure threequel. As reported by The Hollywood Reporter, Cage is in various stages of discussions for sequels to both National Treasure and Face Off. However, it's unclear if the project reference is a third National Treasure film or Ben Gates' potential return in the upcoming Disney Plus series National Treasure: Edge of History. Cage has made his way back into the spotlight with the recent successes of Pig and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, but some fans of the actor have been pushing to see him steal the Declaration of Independence again, and that comes to us from CBR. Now listen, I will tell you, I am not the biggest fan of the National Treasure films. I like them as much as anybody else, but there are some people who the National Treasure films hold a real special place in their heart, and that's awesome. And they've been waiting to see if Nick Cage would come back for something like that. I don't think this is for the National Treasure TV show. I think this is for National Treasure 3. And they've been real adamant. In the last year, we've heard more movement, and Jerry Bruckheimer speaking even more boldly that, yeah, we're going to get this done. We're going to get a number 3. There are even some rumors out there that a script has already been done. It's been sent off to Nick Cage. And Nick Cage is in the midst of a resurgence.
Yep.
Like, people are wanting to see Nick Cage back again. And people forget, this is an Oscar-winning actor, multiple time nominated, Oscar-winning actor. So, and after seeing The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which I didn't love, but I enjoyed, and of course, Pig, he was phenomenal in that, I'd be down for this. Chris, you hear this? Do you think we are actually finally on the edge of getting a National Treasure 3 with Nick Cage, or do you think this will not really turn out to be much?
I think we will. He's having a big moment, right? Not only with The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, but also Pig was a huge win for him. I mean, that is an incredible, incredible film. If you guys haven't seen it, please check it out. I think that we'll see him in that. And I would love for him to be in a National Treasure thing on the big screen. I know a lot of people want him to pop into the series and everything, but we do already have that through line with his co-star being more of the focus on the television series. I'm sure he'll be referred to, but I want to have him in a movie theater, again, telling me that he's going to steal the Declaration of Independence. I think that'd be wonderful. I love those movies. They're fun. They're ridiculous. It's a little quick kind of history lesson that's not always completely correct, but man, it's a good time.
Rob, what do you think about this?
Well, I think it's his franchise. You know, bring him back for National Treasure 3. Why not? I mean, there's no time passes. He's still an archaeologist, or he's still a cryptologist, or wherever he's doing. Have him come back. Why not? Face Off, though.
Yeah.
You know,
I love Face Off. I just think you need to reboot it.
I think it's an absolute reboot. I love Face Off. It's John Woo's best American movie. I think it's great. John Travolta and Nicolas Cage are just awesome in that film, playing each other and playing themselves. But reboot it. There's no reason to bring him back as Castor Troy.
Why would they switch faces again?
Yeah,
I'm Castor Troy. Woo! Listen, we can't talk about Face Off without quoting, I think, one of my favorite lines in all the movies, when Nick Cage looks at the stewardess and says, I have a question. If I asked you, no, wait, let me rephrase.
Oh, yeah.
If I let you suck my tongue, would you be grateful? The way only Nicolas Cage can say it. But I am telling you, Hollywood, I am writing you $1 billion check right now. A Face-Off reboot with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. That is your movie. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to lean a little bit more comedy, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart. One of the two, whatever, but I really go for the Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds one. That just writes money. That just makes money. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Are you one of those people that National Treasure is just one of those franchises that is really special to you? Would you love to see Nick Cage return to that? Do you think it's going to happen? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, with that down, Let's move into main topic number 3. Kaylee, what is our third main topic today?
Third main topic comes from Theon. Hey, John, big fan, listen every day. Have you seen Amazon is doing a new show with Aldous Hodge as Alex Cross? With the success of their adaptation of Reacher, will this be another successful adaptation, even though they're different types of shows? What are your thoughts on this new show with Hodge in the lead? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
I really like Aldous Hodge a lot. Every time I see, because that was him in The Invisible Man, was it not? With
Elizabeth Moss.
with Elizabeth Moss. I really like this guy. And I have never cared about seeing Hawkman on screen before, to be honest. I'm not a Hawkman guy. Wow, he made me like Hawkman in that. And to go and play Alex Cross. This is great. I've always really liked on the big screen the Alex Cross character. Of course, it used to be played by Morgan Freeman, thank you.
Tyler Perry did
Tyler
it as well.
Perry.
Tyler
From
Perry
Rock
played him as well in the movie Alex Cross. But Morgan Freeman played him first in 2 films, in Along Came a Spider and
Kiss the Girls.
both of which I really liked. I like those movies a
I do
lot.
too.
The Tyler Perry one was a disastrous mess. I remember that's how I first met Tyler Perry. He came into the studio and sat down with me for like a half hour, and which is, by the way, the day I became a big Tyler Perry fan. This dude's awesome. The movie did not work out so well, unfortunately. Wasn't that good. But you're right. This is the type of show that Amazon is kind of crushing with right now. And this is the type of character that it can really work in that vein. And I think Hodge is exactly the type of actor that can bring it to life. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety who wrote the following. Amazon has ordered a series based on James Patterson's Alex Cross novels with Aldous Hodge set to play the lead role. This is not the first time Cross has appeared on screen. Morgan Freeman played the character in 2 films, Kiss the Girls in 1997 and Along Came a Spider in 2001. Tyler Perry then played him in the film Alex Cross, which was released in 2012. This also marks the latest collaboration between Amazon, Skydance, and Paramount on a series based on a book character. The 3 companies are currently collaborating on the action series Jack Ryan, which is preparing to air its 3rd season on the streamer. Amazon also currently airs the series Reacher, which is also awesome, based on Lee Child's Jack Reacher novels, with Skydance and Paramount also producing that show with Amazon. So this is a formula that these 3 partners have done very well on. I love the addition of Hodge to this. I think it's great. Rob, you hear about this. What are your thoughts?
I've read a lot of these books. Then Patterson, they kind of went off the rails. But I think the first, 6 or 7 Alex Cross books are great. And if they do what they did with Reacher, which is now they're taking one book and turning it into a season of TV, love this idea. If I might add my 2 cents, the 3rd Alex Cross book is called Jack and Jill. It's set in Washington, D.C. I would adapt that. I think Hodge is perfect to play Alex Cross. You know, one of the things about the Alex Cross books is they have a large cast of secondary characters like John Sampson, his partner in crime, that they can use to build out. And I think it's a great idea. And I would love to see, they've cast the perfect Alex Cross, I think. And it just depends. I mean, Gary Sanji, who was in Along Came a Spider, is a character that also comes back. And they've already done, Along Came a Spider was the first book. They did that as a second movie. Then it was Kiss the Girls. And then it was Jack and Jill. That's why I think they should start with Jack and Jill. Love this idea. Can't wait.
Chris, what do you think about this?
Oh, I love this. Aldous first came on my radar for shows like Leverage and Turn, and I just love seeing all of his success because he's so talented. And y'all know, I love a thriller. I love a mystery and something kind of pulpy. And I think he'll really be able to sink his teeth into this, and Amazon will be able to get a really great show, especially since they're taking that approach of let's really dive into a novel and explore all of it and not rush it, let it fully play out. And he's the guy to do it.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think of this? With Hodge playing Alex Cross in the series, Amazon has been killing it with their Jack Reacher and with Jack Reacher and Jack Ryan. They've both been incredible. Can they continue that streak on here now with Alex Cross? What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 4, shall we? Kaylee, what is our fourth main topic today?
Fourth main topic comes from Kelly D. Hi, John and crew. I recently saw online a rumor about Vision possibly getting a show on Disney Plus. The last time we saw Vision went on WandaVision, where he had transitioned into White Vision. As much as I'd like to see the character again, I'm unsure if an entire show is needed. I think I'm leaning more towards this possibly being another special presentation, but what do you guys think? I mean, what do you think? Do you think there's enough story for Vision to get, an entire series?
That's kind of the big question, right? Is there enough to do a series on Vision? Now, of course, Vision is the latest installment of the Marvel fake death universe. Oh no, Vision died. Wait, he's back. Oh, he died again in the same movie. Okay, now he's gone. But don't worry. They just copied his entire memory matrix just into this other body that looks just like him. Vision's back. Like, I don't care about the semantics. Vision's back. Vision's here. But they did leave off WandaVision with this incredibly powerful being, this Vision, just going, I need to chill for a bit. Whoosh, and he flies away. And a lot of people thought there would be a good possibility of maybe Vision popping up in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, because, in a world of who can talk Wanda Maximoff down, that's a short list of names. Maybe Hawkeye, maybe Vision, stuff like that. But yes, there are reports going around now that they're going to be doing a series, and some reports that we're familiar with. This comes from the folks at CBR who wrote the following. According to insider Jeff Snyder, you guys, of course, remember Jeff from the Collider days and from the Schmodown and things like that. According to insider Jeff Snyder, Marvel Studios is developing a Vision solo series titled Vision Quest, not to be confused with the 1985 Matthew Modine wrestling movie of the same name. I'm told that next week, Marvel will be opening a writer's room for a Vision show titled Vision Quest, Snyder said. He went on to state that this information is coming from a good source who has been accurate in the past. Now, Jeff isn't always right, but it is important to point out that his most recent kind of scoop was that Harrison Ford was going to be Thunderbolt Ross, and that turned out to be 100% true. And so he's now saying they're going to be doing something with Vision. Now, it also needs to be pointed out, they ended WandaVision with Vision for a reason. Like, they didn't just say, well, let's have Vision alive now and mysteriously fly off somewhere and then never come back to it again. Like, they clearly had a plan in place. Can you do enough with Vision for a series? That's a good question. I don't know. Vision is a magnificent character, especially with the way Paul plays him, as an ensemble, as a part of an ensemble. Again, Chris, you pointed this out the other day. Honestly, one of the greatest moments in comic book show or movie history was the line, what is love if not, or what is grief if not love persevering? It's one of the greatest lines ever in any movie, regardless of whether it's a comic book movie or not. That line stays with us and will always. So I don't know about a series. I love your idea of one of these special presentations like Werewolf by Night, like Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. I could see it more like that, but it sounds like they're going serious, because I don't know if you need a full writer's room for a 1 hour special. So clearly they had a plan for this. I completely believe this story. Chris, you hear about this. Where do you think they can go with a Vision series?
They have a lot of wiggle room on this. We can bring in your beloved West Coast Avengers.
Yes, they can.
Because Vision Quest is an arc from the 1980s. And so we can really explore this. Vision in this form, too. I mean, deals with U.S. agent. He deals with a whole bunch of stuff within the Avengers. We have all the stuff with the twins and everything still too. There's a lot that you can talk about still here. And you also have the foundation of WandaVision, right? Because now he has all of this information again, right? He has all of this and has to deal with, being his own actualized entity, still having all these feelings, the potential loss of Wanda. I don't think she's dead. I don't trust off-screen deaths. But I think there's a lot of meat here. And it's a really fun arc to revisit too. So I think they've got a lot of stuff they can use.
John Byrne right there.
Yeah. And a lot of the Disney Plus shows too have also been 8-episode arcs. So I feel like this works really well for that. If they want to stay with that model, I think you can do a lot in those 8 episodes.
Wasn't there a point in the comic as well when he actually came up to their kids and basically said, yeah, look, I'm not your dad. I know I look like him and everything. That was a pretty powerful panel of comments. Like, I know I look like him, I ain't your dad. But that brings up the question, listen, within the world of the MCU, currently Wanda's dead, but this is the fake death universe. I fully expect her to be back. In this current MCU universe, those kids don't exist. They're not real. That, technically speaking, they have never been real in the MCU. They were just creations, manifestations out of Wanda's mind that apparently somewhere out there in the multiverse there are other versions of them. God, I hate multiverse. Anyway, so I don't know. Could a storyline of this be this White Vision who is imprinted with all the memories and thoughts of, could it be a quest to get those kids? Could it be almost like a continuation of Wanda's quest of trying to get those kids into this reality? I don't know. Is that a possibility? Or what other types of, are there some classic Vision storylines that they could follow here?
Well, I think there's a classic story in the sense that you have an artificial, it's wanting to be a real boy. It goes back to Pinocchio. It's
Right.
what Data wanted, you know. And first of all, I love Paul Bettany as an actor. Everything
Yes.
from like Master and Commander to smaller indie films like Margin Call when he's playing British gangsters. I think he's an incredible actor. I love his voice. And giving him a show, it's too long. It's been long in coming that an actor of his caliber is front and center. He's always going to be second fiddle. I love how he plays Vision. Love it. And I would love to see him. He will bring the gravitas. And I think it's great when he's with Vision. That's fine. But I think they can really give him the meat that as an actor he deserves to play in his quest, especially his White Vision, to understand who is he? Where is he? How does he belong in this universe? I mean, he's an artificial creation that has this power of the Infinity Stones with him. What does that all mean? And literally somebody questioning their own existence could be a really fascinating story within the MCU. And I think they could do something really, really marvelous with it. I also want to point out that Paul Bettany is also winning at life because he's married to Jennifer Connelly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I still love his story. I don't know if you guys,
It's one of the most romantic stories ever.
but his story about getting the role of Vision.
Oh, that role. That's
It was, although his role
That's
of being married to
romantic,
Jennifer
too.
Connelly is a pretty good role too. But he told the story, I think it was on Jimmy Kimmel, where he said, this is exactly how it happened. He said, I had just met with my agent at a place in Hollywood, and my agent had literally just told me, your days of getting decent roles are done. Like, just like, you've had a great career, but really your run is over. And he said, I'm out on Hollywood Boulevard, walking down, having got out of the restaurant, and he said, I'm feeling awful. I've just been told that, my career's over. My phone rings and it's Kevin Feige saying, would you like to play Vision? And he said, my day completely turned around. So it's just the timing of that is great. But let me ask you, this is a possible scenario. Okay, he's imprinted with everything of Vision on him, right? And that's going to, I think, become more and more part of him. I think he's going to become more and more Vision-like. So it's Vision, everybody. It's Vision. Could this story be him trying to bring back Wanda? Like him finding out all the details of the events of Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness and finding a way to bring Wanda back. Could that be a part of the story here?
It could.
Anything's possible.
But I really think they're going to concentrate on him as an entity, as a being, as a living, breathing individual, and what it means to be him. I mean, that's why, hence the title Vision Quest. I don't think, although I could be wrong, and he's questing after Wanda and the kids and whatever. I could see that, wanting to put his family back together. But I think there's probably more to it than that.
Yeah, I do like the idea of a self-actualization journey too, especially because I mean, in the show, it's Sword who builds him, right, instead of Vigilance.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of why am I here? Why was I made? Because that goes down to the most interesting thing about AIs is your prime directive, right? What is the purpose of me? Which is a very, very mechanical response to things. But then you also can then, with something so self-actualized, explore the existential possibilities of what is the point of existing and what is your purpose on Earth.
And what is his responsibility to humanity and the rest of
And
existence?
here, all I thought he was going to do is eat peyote in the desert.
That would be an interesting movie too. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? It sounds like there is a Vision series coming, whether it's a full series, which it probably is, or even as a 1-hour special presentation. I would dig that too. What do you think? Are you looking forward to it? What kind of storyline do you think they could follow in that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that all down, I'm going to call an audible. And we're going to wrap it up here today. We're not going to do our open super chats today. You know, it's Friday. I already told the crew we're going to get half the day off. We're going to make it a half day. So, and this episode has gone quite long already. So we're not going to open up the super chats today. We're just going to let you guys go and start enjoying your weekend. How about that? Don't forget, guys, I am going to be doing 1 or 2 live streams this weekend myself. So keep your eyes on the channel for any updates like that. I want to thank everybody in the room. Robert Meyer Burnett, right beside him, Chris Carr, and no, I'm not going to say the joke Rob wasn't going to say. Over there, Taylor has been here, Jonathan running the show.
I got a joke. Oh, no.
And right beside him, winner in her first inaugural movie password, Kaylee won today. And of course, my name is John Campia. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. Have a fabulous weekend. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.